Hello, YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 10 articles in this episode for you, and all the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. The first one here is off the Daily Caller, and it says, a lawyer worth $1.5 million arrested for taking food stamps. Welfare. An Arlington, Virginia woman allegedly falsified welfare applications to receive more than $100,000 in benefits while her husband raked in $1.5 million salary. Ellen, and boy, I tell you, this last name is a mouthful. Yuru on Wu. Gee, not pronouncing it right. 5-cent last names. Says mother of 4 collected food stamps and Medicaid benefits from 2010 through 2016, while her husband, Fidelis Agbab Urakaru, I don't know. I'm going to call him Aggie. That's the first 2 letters of the last name. I have no idea how to pronounce it. He was earning $5 million as a lawyer in Washington, D.C., NBC News reports. It says Helen fraudulently obtained in excess of $100,000 under false pretenses, police allege, and she has been charged with felony welfare fraud and document forgery, according to a police report. Who immigrated to the U.S. from Nigeria in the 1990s, worked as an associate at Mayor Brown, D.C., according to his LinkedIn profile. And for Mayor Brown, C4 that Aggie had no longer works there. He received Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship, which he used to pay for law school at Ohio State University. I believe that Aggie may have fled the country and is somewhere in Africa, NBC News reports. We hope it sends a message that if you're taking public assistance, it's truly intended for those in need, to ensuring those who need the most help receive it. Ashley Savage, spokeswoman for the Arlington County Police, told NBC News. But I'm not done. The app here is also off the Daily Caller. And it says Soros fellow flees country while wife arrested for welfare scam. Recipient of a prestigious Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for Immigrants has reportedly fled the U.S., possibly to Africa, as his wife faces criminal welfare fraud charges in Arlington, Virginia. I call him Maggie because I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's Agbapuronwu. Lord have mercy. It's got as many vowels as it does consonants. I think it's got more vowels than consonants in that. Aggie, a Nigerian immigrant, fled the country and is somewhere in Africa, according to officials at the Arlington General Court, NBC News. Aggie's wife, Helen, was arraigned March the 8th and charged with felony welfare fraud after she allegedly fraudulently obtained public assistance in excess of $100,000 under false pretenses for about 6 years between 2010 and 2016, according to police reports. The defense attorney for Mrs. Aggie declined to comment by the Daily Caller News Foundation. According to Aggie's LinkedIn page, he recently, as an associate at Washington, D.C. offices of Mayor Brown LLP, a top-tier international law firm, NBC4 reports. While there, he earned $1.5 million a year, a high salary for an associate-level attorney. For the firm for about 5 years and left in 2011, explained an attorney at Mayor Brown, who, with Daily Caller News Foundation on a condition of anonymity, associates at the firm do not make $1.5 million in salary, the attorney added. Aggie immigrated to the U.S. from Nigeria in the 1990s and later received a Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship for New Americans in 2001 and 2002, which he used to pay for law school at Ohio State University. Soros Fellowships for New Americans offer up to $90,000 for 2 years of graduate education. Brother to Democratic mega donor George Soros created fellowship program in 1998 to honor the contributions of immigrants to the United States and help fund graduate study for immigrants who are poised to make significant contributions to U.S. society, culture, and academic field. The Paul and Daisy Soros Foundation did not return DCNF's request for comment. As lawyer at Mayer Brown, Aggie worked on a number of financial and civil cases, according to a search records. In one of his cases, Aggie assisted a pro bono team in 2011, which helped a woman from El Salvador win asylum from the continuous and severe physical, emotional, and psychological abuse inflicted by her boyfriend. Preliminary hearing is scheduled for early April. Police allege that Helen forged documents to illegally obtain public benefits like food stamps, also known as Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, and Medicaid for herself and her 4 children. It sends a message that if you are taking public assistance, it's truly intended for those who need, and we're committed to ensuring those who need it the most get it. Spokeswoman for the Arlington County Police told NBC News. The director of preschool, where Aggie's said the allegations do not make sense. I believe it's not true, the director told NBC4 News. Well, guess what? Truth is stranger than fiction. I have here OregonLive.com with the Patriots out there, and waiting for the hamster to catch up to me here. Y'all remember Mumford, the attorney, trying to get the hamster to run a little faster. Come on, buddy. Well, he's taking a nap. There he goes. It says, feds file motion to dismiss charges against Emmett Bundy's lawyer, Marcus Mumford. Get it screen. Well, hamster keeps falling off the wheel. Come on. Special federal prosecutor assigned to the criminal case against, well, then it jumped. Of course it will. Hey, Dickens. Hamster? Don't make me slap you around. Okay, special federal prosecutor assigned to the criminal case against Emmett Bundy's lawyer filed a motion Monday to dismiss, I'll swear, to dismiss all the charges against Marcus Mumford. The motion comes more than 3 weeks after Judge dropped one of the 3 charges against Mumford and ruled that he would decide the remaining 2 charges after the trial. Comes on the first business day after a federal jury in Portland found 4 remaining defendants guilty on a variety of charges stemming from the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. And the hamster's having trouble keeping up with me here. Come on. Timothy J. Ohms, J.C. Jacobs of Washington State filed the motion in U.S. District Court in Portland asking a judge to dismiss the criminal information without prejudice. That means the government could file charges in the case in the future. The case is being dismissed, said Mumford's lawyer, Michael Levine. He said he didn't know what prompted the government's decision, judge, to sign the dismissal order. It's not over till it's over, Levine said. 16th U.S. District Judge John C. Kogenauer charge that accused Mumford of creating a disturbance by impeding the official duties of government officers because it encompassed the same conduct alleged in the second count, failing to comply with official signs that prohibit federal officers' official work. The third count accused Mumford of failing to comply with a federal officer's direction to stop resisting and to place his hands behind his back. A trial had been set for April the 13th. Kogenauer declined to grant Mumford a jury trial as requested or his motion to dismiss the charges. Mumford's lawyer has argued repeatedly that the deputy U.S. Marshals engaged in outrageous misconduct and lacked authority to wrestle Mumford to the ground and stun him with a taser gun while he was arguing on behalf of Bundy's in federal courtroom last fall. After Bundy of all charges on October the 27th at the end of a 5-week trial over the armed refuge takeover last winter. Month defended the charges, contending Mumford was blocking marshals from taking Bundy back into custody. At the end of the trial, when Mumford resisted arrest, he was stunned with the taser, Holmes said. A judge from the Federal Western District of Washington had been assigned to preside over the case. District Judge Anna J. Brown, prosecutors were recused from it. Room deputy, her clerk, and court reporter could be called as witnesses at trial, Levine had told the court last month. Kogenauer last month had ordered prosecutors to turn over Mumford's lawyer any text messages between marshals, federal service officers, or court security on their government-issued cell phones that revealed hostility toward Mumford or in any way cast doubts on their credibility. Was ordered to turn over information that casts doubt on a witness' credibility by law. Levine said he received no explanation from the government on what led to the decision now to dismiss the charges. He wondered if prosecutors had the video of the fracas in something in the emails or personal files of marshals that would have been problematic for the government or declared Mumford deaf already. Holmes' questions referred to the Eastern District Acting U.S. Attorney Joseph Harrington, who declined any comment. He was surprised to hear about the government's motion on Monday. Completely unexpected. On one hand, I want to doing the right thing, Mumford said Monday night. On the other hand, it makes me wonder why they did it. Answered questions. Mumford said he and his lawyer were waiting to receive discovery from the government that the court had ordered prosecutors to turn over, and instead they saw this motion to dismiss the charges. I'm very pleased to know, Mumford added, it allows me to take care of my own clients. Public defender Lisa Hay said she's very pleased by the government's decision. She said she hoped that cooler heads prevailed once prosecutors closely examined the video and other evidence. I'm certain the misunderstanding that resulted in these charges were related to the unusual circumstances of the Bundy case and won't be repeated again, Hayes said. The article I have is off of BizPac Review. For the hamster. The hamster in the wheel goes round and round. Round and thunk and round and thunk. He's only got 3 legs, you know. And one eye, can't see out of the other. Hair fell out. Okay, this one says, blatant racism? Seriously? High school student called racist for wearing U.S. flag colors to the game. Iowan High School recently apologized to administrators of another Iowan high school when people found their choice of red, white, and blue attire offensive. Des Moines North High School basketball team players are from refugee families were offended when fans at High Valley School's basketball team wore red, white, and blue last week, reports. This is an example of blatant racism, said Ty Leggett on the Valley High School WD Facebook page. All participating should have been pulled and banned from all VHS extracurricular events for the remainder of the year. As a parent, that my son or daughter acted in this fashion and from taking a stand against the 21st century inexcusable behavior. Carter, a mother living in the Iowa district, remarked that for the supporters of one team from a primarily white part of town to paint themselves as a team of the USA, it strongly implies that the other team is less American. Some individuals defended the Valley High students. Now, we can't wear USA stuff without making someone upset, said Melissa Ferris Bader, another Valley High alum. Oh, please. This country is the United States of America, and our country colors are red, white, and blue, no matter what you have or what race you are, said Mallory Page Sander, a current Valley High student. To offend anyone by wearing the U.S. clothing was nowhere in the thoughts of any of our students in America. The assistant coach of Valley's opponent, Des Moines North, had different thoughts. Any normal person, any educated person can look at that and think, what the hell are these kids thinking, said Morgan Wheat, assistant coach at the Des Moines North basketball team, according to WhoTV.com. Kids are kids. I get it, but I do have questions and I want to know why. North coach Chad Ryan also the Des Moines Register. I don't want to judge those young people, not knowing their motives, said Ryan. What I will say is we're proud of our diversity at North High School, not only our basketball team, but our population. It's been good for us as a school. They learn from each other about people with different cultures and backgrounds, and we try to use it as an educational piece. School student Dana Dunwald noted that the school students had dressed with a USA themed instead of their black and orange school colors many times in the past. A lot of people were very upset about it, explained Dean Spencer, a sophomore at Des Moines North, to KCCI. Even if that was their theme for the game, they have switched that because everyone knows North is a more diverse school. Leaders drafted and delivered a letter to the principal of Des Moines North. We have offended anyone in any way, reads the statement. In part, we have traditionally dressed in such a fashion for great games such as the one last night. Everyone here at Valley has immense respect, not only for your team and players, but for your community as a whole. Our intent was in no way to offend or demean, just to support in a way we have done before. Others commented on Valley High School WDS, noting that they had heard them, but other things, Valley High accusations stating that administrators and teachers did not have evidence during the game of this occurring. If we had been aware of it, we would have taken immediate action to stop it. Now, having received reports, we are investigating. Action will be taken for evidence found. Tigers defeated the Des Moines North 7-55. And there's video in this if you want to pull it up and take a look at that. My goodness. People are just or wear or do or move or anything somebody over what you're doing. I've got it on the screen, but the print is so small, it's very difficult to read. They make these articles, but I think I've got it big enough now that I can actually read it. This was ridiculously small. Okay, this is off of ENE News. It says, fish leaking pus covered in lesions, deformed West Coast, all caught affected. It's too big. Let me make. I don't like having to scroll across the page to now. Okay. Covered in lesions, deformed West Coast. Fishermen say nearly all fish, I've never seen this, their bodies. Many are showing illness. Environmental conditions could be a factor. And there are photos, pull it up to see what we're talking about here. Native Tribal Health Consortium, Local Environmental Observer Network, February the 8th of 2017, says, Bay, Alaska, Dolly Varden, with is, I don't know, they've got the scientific name for it as Salvianus malma, with lesions. The observation, while on Good News River February winter, a local resident pulled a trout and immediately noticed what looked like pus coming out of a Dolly Varden. This something that is a natural. Can we consume the fish, or is there a recommendation and or advisory about eating fish with pus coming out of it? And then out of THC-Leo Network, 17 says Good News Bay, Alaska, with deformity. Observation, couple of local residents were out and about fishing for trout in early February. While fishing, a Dolly Varden was caught and pulled in. We could visibly see that the trout had deformity. For this deformity, ADF&G Fish Pathology Lab consultant Ferguson writes, there are a number of different potential causes for a spinal deformity in a fish, which would include genetic factors, infectious agents, neoplasia, dietary, environmental pollution. And then this ANTHC Leo Network on November the 28th of last year in Fernac, Alaska, fish. Saprogenic fungus found on whitefish, Alaska. More than 75% of whitefish caught with net had pus on them. We checked a total of 4 nets with 52 total whitefish. Only 12 had no pus on them. Other people were seeing the same pus on fish, kinds of pus, setting nets about 8 years ago. I don't think people are eating the fish. Some whitefish had pus all over the body, Leo says. If you observe several fish with the same condition, we would begin to question if there is an environmental or other cause. For instance, with so many fish showing evidence of illness, environmental factors of the condition. In the observations of members to help better understand Game Consult, December the 2nd, fish pathologist, the prevalence for the fungal infection is high, but if due to poor or otherwise stressful environment conditions, it's likely that many of the fish in the will be affected. I do not recommend eating any of these fish. It's not. So there's that. I think it's time to swear off a fish. And after this, if you want to, the next article, sure to cooperate here. Says it's on HQ.com. Hamster's running and he's running. The final pillage, Greece to surrender utilities in exchange for more and austerity. Want the hamster to spin it up here for me. Come on, buddy. Announcement. Well, then it's spinning a little bit too far. Come on. He can't win, can he? Okay, Germany's announcement that it will not allow debt relief for the troubled EU nation will force Greece to auction off the last of its assets and sign over its remaining sovereignty to the EU bureaucracy. For the last several years, Greece has been struggling to keep it together. In 2010, Greece was found for its to the euro less than a decade before. The subsequent program, another which then caused the major employment and the explosion of debt. 3 years later, Greece defaulted to the International Monetary Fund, becoming the first to do so. Continuing crisis had caused much economic instability in the Eurozone, but as Deutsche Bank analysis have noted, we seem to be a conclusion of this episode of the Greece saga. With the Greek economy and its government debt, the government in Athens seems to have a few options left. The EU's most powerful member as a third bailout looms. Barbaria's remarks that he plans to take a time of the bailouts compared to previous deals, stating that new only flow when Athens implemented all the reforms. Even then, however, aid should only be given against a pledge in the form of cash, gold, or real estate. Greece must surrender that's a real tangible value in exchange for more euros to its massive debt paid. Indeed, pre-negotiated, all of Greece's public property was valued billion euros. Sales and price of the necessary loans on up on it by prior bailouts, 90 billion euros. Despite the obvious fact debt is insurmountable for Greece, no matter how much austerity is imposed, assessed to be sold per the previous bailout agreements. The newest plan would take all that remains. The plan was announced by Soter, the forced voluntary privatization of Greece for its enslavement to the European Union, powerful member states. Bailouts, German interests have benefited the most from its privatization, taking control assets and utilities, such as its airports, ports, marinas, and water utilities. Once again, Germany is set to be the biggest beneficiary of the upcoming bailout. Multinational corporations and other states who plan to partake in the final plunder of Greece. That's sad. We have here is on foxnews.com. Chicago's violent gangs looting freight cars filled with guns. If you want to pull it up to take a look at that. It is on the south side of Chicago, and scrolled a little too much. Here we go. On the south side of Chicago, in one of the city's most dangerous neighborhoods, occasionally hit the gangsters' jackpot. They loot freight containers carrying shiny new guns. And boxes of them are part of a shipment that for gun companies or gun shops across the country. But the gangsters have caught on to the practice. They are ransacking these trains and stealing weapons that eventually make their way to the city's blood-soaked streets. Have individuals who can go in and steal guns from a train, environment very toxic. Brooks, who leads a church around the corner from the freight yard, Hall Tobacco on Firearms and Explosives, said that since 2013, more than 150 firearms stolen from freight trains. Investigation revealed that some crimes and only 16 were recovered. 762 homicides, up 57% from previous year. In a city already reeling from one of the most violent violent crime waves in years, where tens of thousands of firearms are recovered from the streets every year. 150 stolen guns might not seem like a big deal, but one single gun can be linked to at least 14 fatal shootings. How in the world are these kids getting everybody? They can't go purchase. Where are they getting them from? Said city midst of 37th instance. Thieves stole more Ruger handguns, described as pretty shoddy makeshift guns criminals in Chicago rough street often use. Both partially blame Norfolk Southern, the rail yard, saying it could easily beef up security to on its tracks. The company needs to do something before the weapons get in the hands of more dangerous criminals. Concerned about terrorists who could is unprotected here and steal things and explosives and really hurt our communities, Brooks said. Told Fox News that it's for any stolen property. The company said it takes the issue seriously. Levels on law enforcement, increasing security around the tracks. Policing, making Chicago crime. While we can't discuss the specifics of ongoing investigations, we are taking significant steps to evaluate our security program and address Norfolk Southern spokeswoman Susan in an email. On this story, Fox News noticed a very responsive presence of security yard. Norfolk-based police department, railroad law enforcement force in the increasing patrols of rail yards using officers in marked cars and canine units, Terpey wrote. The department is conducting undercover surveillance investigations. The company is hoping security at the rail yard neighbors trying to keep guns out of criminals' hands in one of America's deadliest communities. Compounds the damage being done to our city, Brooks said. These individuals who are trying to live here and have a safe. The next article for you. This is off of Breitbart. State of Tennessee files constitutional challenge to refugee resettlement program. Well, come on, hamster. The Thomas More Law Center filed a federal Tennessee General Assembly and the state of Tennessee in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Tennessee Monday, challenging the federal refugee resettlement program for violating the state's sovereignty under the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Come on, hamster. President Trump, well, so fast. Did I miss it? Sakes. Try something here. Poor little hamster. Sakes. We'll just reload the page and see if that helps the hamster any. Maybe you up. See if this does any good. Hamster. Okay. President Trump will be on Wednesday to garner public data. His revised executive order temporarily halting the federal refugee banning travel from 6 Middle Eastern countries on Thursday. National nonprofit public interest law firm, the Thomas More Law Center, based in Ann Arbor, Michigan, will represent C without charge. 16. General Assembly passed SJR 467 by overwhelming majorities, authorized suit to address the federal government's commandeering of state funds to continue resettlement program in Tennessee. In the state of Tennessee, but the U.S. Office of Refugee Resettlement unilaterally designed Catholic Charities of Tennessee to force continued funds to restate. Is prohibited from forcing states to support federal program revenues. This issue of federal funding for the new, soon-to-be created federal program by late Senator Ted, the chief sponsor of the 1980 legislation on the Senate floor prior to its passage. Of deep concern of many state and local assessed under these programs should be for a reasonable period of time. Communities will not be taxed for a program they did not initiate. The Act 100% cost of Medicaid and cash welfare provided refugees during their first 36 months in the United States would be repaid by the federal government. 5 years of having created the federal program, Congress failed to appropriate sufficient funding, and instead, the program began shifting to state governments. Within 10 years of passing the Refugee Act, the federal government eliminated all reimbursement of a huge financial cost to the state. Was in effect yet another unfunded federal mandate. To documented in federal reports. And scroll up. The U.S. Senate, whoops, went a little too far. Okay. U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations in 2010 undertook a review of the refugee admissions program, taking particular note of the costs associated with health care for refugees that were being passed on local governments. The superintendent for Fort Wayne, Indiana community schools confirmed the cost of educating refugee students regularly from other programs. The Commissioner of Health also testified to the fact that the cost of HIV/AIDS tests on the laps of local and state governments, as well as the expensive lifelong treatment for the high incidence of hepatitis B she accidentally discovered among the resettled Burmese. Another significant cost local community will be forced to bear. To define Tennessee's rights in light of the forced expenditure of state funds in support of a federal program from which the state has formally withdrawn. Majority Norris led the passage of SJR 467 and described the suit as seeking declaratory relief. Offers a unique mechanism by which advocates may seek to remedy ongoing violations of statutory or constitutional law, sometimes the nature of a friendly lawsuit to bring clarity to an otherwise cloudy situation. John Stevens and Representative Terry Lynn Weaver will serve as the named plaintiffs representing the Tennessee General Assembly and the state of Tennessee. Some of these states started standing up to this. And I have is also off of Breitbart. And waiting for the hamster. Deported in February. Patrol agents assigned to the Nogales a Mexican national who re-entered the country after being deported last month. From the Tucson sector, arrested 46-year-old Rene Murillo Almazana, a previously deported criminal alien. A records check carried out by the agents revealed Muriel Almanza has an extensive criminal history and prior deportations. His most recent deportation occurred. His criminal history dates back to 1990, according to information obtained by Breitbart, Texas. Customs and Border Protection official. In one of these cases, a court convicted Almanza, I don't know how to pronounce that, for raping a child, sentenced him to only 26 months in prison. Of his prison sentence, he received 2 years of probation. That conviction occurred in 1994. Court records obtained by Breitbart, Texas show that agents arrested the Mexican citizen near Nogales, Arizona on February the 9th. Immigration and Customs Enforcement removal operation agents deported Almanza through the El Paso port of entry. Murillo Almanza now faces new criminal charges of illegal re-entry after removal as a sex offender. This is a felony charge. Breitbart, Texas reported on previously deported sex offenders who are arrested by Border Patrol agents returning to the U.S. after being deported. In February, Breitbart, Texas reported that agents in the El Centro sector, Southern California, arrested their 5th previously deported offender since the new fiscal year began in October. Following the arrest of 2 previously deported sex offenders in Southern California in early February, El Centro Sector Assistant Chief Patrol Agent David S. Kim said, "These 2 arrests highlight the importance of knowing who is coming into the United States. The 2 sex offenders our Border Patrol agents arrested took advantage of it and preyed on minors. Our agents shield our communities and our country from threats like this every day." Can't make this stuff up. Go off of Breitbart. It says alien and his brother busted with 200 pounds of meth. Joint Law Enforcement Task Force arrested a previously deported criminal alien and his brother for allegedly transporting nearly 200 pounds of methamphetamine. And Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, agents teamed up with deputies from Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and to arrest 2 brothers who were allegedly smuggling a large volume of methamphetamine, according to information obtained by Breitbart, Texas, from ICE officials. And it's in here if you want to pull it up and take a look at it. It says the task force attempted to arrest Jair Haro Lopez, age 34, a Mexican national with a prior criminal history that includes prison time, deportations, and his brother Hernan Haro Lopez, age 28, after observing them loading a suspicious box of vehicles. Officials listed the younger brother as Phoenix residents, the of his citizenship, nationality, or immigration status. Officers surveilling the 2 brothers followed them where they removed a large box and placed it into Jairo's SUV. After following the several miles, officers attempted to stop both vehicles. Hernan stopped his vehicle, but Jairo fled from the law enforcement officers in his SUV. Pursued, Jairo allegedly caused 2 traffic collisions. After the second crash, Jairo abandoned his vehicle and fled on foot. Officers quickly caught up with the illegal alien and placed him in custody. His vehicle revealed a large box containing nearly 200 pounds of methamphetamine. Officers arrested the 2 men and seized the drugs and the vehicles. By Breitbart, Texas revealed that immigration officials deported Jairo on at least 2 previous occasions. Border Patrol agents apprehended the Mexican national on at least 3 other occasions in prison after one of the incidents of illegally crossing the border and a second time for using fraudulent documents to cross the border illegally. The court sentenced him to 2 years in prison for that charge. cooperation and coordination across agencies to keep our communities safe, said Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone. MCSO is committed to working with our partners in law enforcement to make it tough for drug gangs to operate and endanger our communities. We're pleased with a very successful outcome. This case is a direct result of the ongoing collaborative efforts by HSI with its federal and local partners. Acting Special Agent in charge of HSI Phoenix, Louis Garcia, statement, drug smuggling poses both a security and public safety concern in our communities. We're continuing to use all of the tools at our disposal to address these threats. The two men each face prison sentences of between 5 and 10 years if convicted on state drug charges. J-Rowe also faces charges of resisting arrest and fleeing law enforcement. That's all I have for you in this episode. If you like what I'm doing, give it a thumbs up. Don't be share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. See you on the next episode.